All my YouTube haters say that my movies are theoretical because I'm sitting in a comfy sofa. Okay, let's do it outside. Come on, give me a break. Let's go get a beer. Here is a typical riser that would landed for me from Airsport Zakopane. Just a small reminder how the risers work. Well, with a model of a profile of the canopy, we can see how it works. By pulling the speed, we make the angle of attack lower and the glider goes faster. The same thing, by activating the trimmer, we change the angle of attack. Now, I'm going to show you how deep we can change the angle of attack. As you see here on the risers, we have markings. The markings are made by the producer. Mostly, the first mark here shows the best gliding ratio of the glider. We can pull it harder. Then the glider will fly much slower and it will sink much less. But this position is not very good for takeoff. It's a little bit too slow. We may have a problem taking off. So let's say the principal position is at the first marking, right? So let's say that our glider is going exactly against the stream. Now let's see how deep we can change the angle. We pull the speed, we put the tip here on the very line and we mark. Speed full. We go back to the position flat, right? Now we let go the riser the most. So here we have the position, trimmer. We let go the trimmer most. Okay, we go back to the best glide position. Now let's see what happens if we use both the speed and the trimmer. Okay, we let go the trimmer, it ends up here. If we use the speed, it ends up here. But if we use both of them, the trimmer and the speed, it ends up over here. It looks like it's more than the double. It's more than the addition of the speed of the trimmer. So the question is, what does the manual of your glider say about that? Is it possible? Because most of the gliders with risers that have both speed and trimmers, the producers say if you use the trimmer, don't use the speed. If you use the speed, don't use the trimmer. As for me, I find it absolutely incorrect. It's very, very easy to mix up. It's very easy to forget that you have the trimmer off. And in a certain situation, you push the speed with the trimmer. Actually, it might happen, and if it might happen, the Murphy law says it will happen. Well, now we all know how to use the speed. And what is it for? Of course, it is for speed. But the thing that not many people knows about, that the speed works also as a compensation system. Let's imagine we're flying with the front wind hitting us all the time. But it hits us with bursts. So what it happens? We're hit, the glider go backwards, there is no lifting, the glider jumps and brakes. Of course, a good pilot in this moment let go of the brakes. In this moment he will brake a little bit so he can compensate that. But if we use the speed system, we got it pressed. Look what happens. When the glider goes back, it tends the speed system because your legs are in front. So that way it pulls on the speed system and the glider doesn't go backwards. It's almost flat. When the lift goes out, the glider jumps, but the speed system makes the angle bigger. So it's a sort of compensation. It may happen even so fast that you don't know about it. Hits, runs, hits, goes, and the compensation of the speed works all the time if you have it tended. Try to observe it. Another thing you should know about your trims is that those releases, those metal things, those clips that they're holding the straps, they're not anything special, aeronautical inventions. They're just simple strap holders you can buy in any magazine. What that means? That means that when you're with your motor, with your trike, there's a big strain, it's a big load on the straps. And now you're about to loosen the risers. They not always go smooth. It may happen that during the flight you loosen the risers, you're trying to make them both, and one shoots. If one shoots, you go in a spin, you enter a spiral. Have that in mind. If you think it's not important, you can check on one of the reports, latest reports of a death crash, paraglider accident in Poland. I don't know what was the reason, but at the place where the accident was, there was a harness and the trims were let off asymmetrically. One of the trims was loose and the other one was still working. It was a very, very experienced pilot, so it's impossible. He let go one riser and was flying. Well, have it in mind. If we talk about risers with both speed system and the trimmers, mostly we talk about power paragliding. It's not very often that free-flying paragliders have trimmers. They have speed because the pilots can work dynamically. With the trimmers, well, it's a little bit complicated, as you saw. So, if we speak about paraglider, if we speak about power paragliders, mostly we speak about reflex gliders. If you ask anybody what you fly with a motor, with a paramotor, he says a reflex glider. Well, my opinion about Reflex paragliders, you should know if you watch my tutorials. In my movies, I'm showing that the reflex in the glider, in the paraglider, doesn't work. It's just a commercial sort of scum. In a short example, I'll show you why. Okay, this is a profile of a paraglider. And this is a profile of a reflex paraglider. As you see, the only difference is that the trailing edge is up. Why is it so? Well, we could go deeply into theory, but making it short, it works this way, that thanks to this little tip up, the most of the power that is pushing up the glider is in front. In this part, it's here. Why is it so important? Well, it's the stall. It's the stall that may happen to the wing. If the axle of the power is close to the middle, well, approximately is here rather. If it's very easy to stall the wing. If the force is in front, the stall automatically falls back. Does it work? Sure. It works. It works in what is it? It's an airplane. This tip in the airplane is the steering at the end. This part which is working is the wing. So, the producers of the paragliders had an idea, let's put it in the paraglider. Okay. But the problem is that if this tip has to work, that means there are some powers forced by the stream. There are some powers here at the end that are pulling up or pulling down, that they are controlling the movement of the wing. So, as you know, the powers to control the wing, they had to be rather strong, right? So, in an airplane, here, with the wing here, if the wing goes like that, or like that, the power is quite big. Why? Because the center of gravity of the airplane is in the axle of the wing. So it's quite easy to move it. If we have an airplane with the wing that is higher and the center is still here, it goes a little much more heavier. If we have a jet plane with the wings here, those movements are quite easy. They're still very close to the center of the gravity. So this force has an arm, and the torque of this force is quite big, so it can move the ship because the center of gravity is close to the axle of the wing, to the center of the force that is holding the airplane. Now, does it work on the paraglider? We all know how the paraglider is constructed. if the wing is, let's say, about 1.6 meter wide, the lines are about 7 to 8 meters long. So our center of gravity is here, 100 kilo. So there is a big arm. This is the center of the axle of the wing. So if we want to move this arm of 7 meters, pushing on the little tip here, we need to put a force that is, if we say here 1 meter, and we have 7 meters here, that means the force here has to be 7 times the force needed to move. So if we have 100 kilos here, to move those 100 kilos, we need at least the same 100 kilos here. My question: the paraglider is all soft and on lines. Do you think that this stream hitting the edge is able to produce such a big force? I don't think so. So this thing cannot stabilize the center of gravity. That means the pilot has no chance. It will need extremely big forces. This is theory, right? So I'm going to show you a small example in practice. This is a model how the paraglider works. If the wing here is about 160, here we have 13 centimeters, and we use the same proportions, how long the lines are, let's say between 7 and 8 meters. Here the proportions are 1 to 5, right? So I made this model in a proportion of 1 to 10, right? Okay, so 13, 65 centimeters, that's about a proportion to 1 to 11, 1 to 12. Okay, so if we're flying a glider like that, we're hanging here, we're talking about reflex, that means paramotor. With the paramotor, I weigh at least 100 kilos. So with the proportions 1 to 10, I should hang here 10 kilos. I cannot hang 10 kilos because my cupboard will fall down. So I hang here 5 kilos, right? So 5 kilos, and I wanted to show you that here on a reflex glider, there appeared a force that should control. Reflex. What that means? The glider goes a little bit like that. This is the re of the flex, right? So in Polish we call it auto stabilization. That means if we go like that, front and back, this little tip will stabilize it. Will it? That's a good question. If we use 5 kilos here, not 10, it's the half of the statistic. Let's see how much force we need to move the glider to stabilize it. That means to fight the swinging. There's a weight. I hang it here to the tip where we have this reflex end, right? Now, watch the movement. Here we have 5 kilos. So if we want to move the glider by a force here, you see, to move it a little bit, we have to put 3 kilos. 3 kilos, that's between 60 and 70% of the weight. So if it was 100 kilos, we had to put 60 kilos here. 60 kilos to compensate the movement, to make the reflex work. It works on the airplane, it doesn't work on the paraglider. Why? Because on the airplane, you know, airplanes are fucking big, the jumbo jet. But the weight is in the axle of the wing. So the force has nothing to fight. There's no torque. There's a very small torque. But if the arm is very long, because the paraglider pilot is hanging here, the arm is very long and it multiplies. And it works out that if we want to move a little bit, we need at least, for 100 kilos, we need to use about 60 kilos. Is it possible that this little soft edge can work out 60 kilo of reflex force? No, man, it's not possible. It's not possible. It doesn't work. So the old publicity that you're buying a very special glider, only very stable because it's reflex, it's a lie. It's bullshit. Well, it's up to you if you get it. Of course, after this experiment, you may say, all right, but we don't agree. We still think that it's a very good stabilized by the system glider. Okay, one small question. Do the producers of gliders offer reflex gliders in free flying? Go on. See their offers, see their possibilities. I can absolutely be sure and tell you that there is no offer of free gliders, free flying gliders with this system. Why? Free gliders, free pilots need stabilization too. They want reflex, they want very stable gliders. Why don't you give it to them? You know why? Because this little tip going up, it's a handbrake on the glider. In free flying, we cannot afford it because the glider will stop. It will lose speed. It will not glide, the ratio will fall down if we have something like that. Why can't we use it in paramotor? Exactly, you have the answer. Paramotor. You have a strong engine pushing you, so the glider doesn't have to glide. As we say in Poland, with a paramotor, you can fly with the door from a stable. Anything will fly. Next thing, what happens if the motor goes off? The motor goes off, it's not free gliding then. No, it's crash landing. Because a glider with this system has a very bad ratio. It goes down like an axe. So, observe yourself. If you have very high paramotors, very heavy paramotors with trikes, they never land with their engines off. Observe it. And you know how dangerous it is landing on a paramotor with the engine on. You pull down, you break the propeller. Most of the guys with the backpacks, they put the propeller off because they are lighter. But the trikes, they don't. If you see a movie in YouTube, a paraglider going and the motor goes off, panic, crash landing. Why? Because the gliders, specially made for paramotor, the reflex gliders, they don't glide. They go down like hell. They are fast, yeah, that's sure, they are fast. But anything is fast if you put 100 horsepower BMW motor on it. Anything can go fast. So, I myself, I don't fly those things. I can go a little bit slower, but I know that I like gliding, paragliding. I like the paramotor and I can switch it off. And when I switch it off, I glide. If I take a good glider, a big glider, a biplace, a tandem, I can even catch thermics. I can catch thermals and I can soar for hours with the engine off. You can't do that on a reflex glider. Well, If I'm right or not, it's your choice. Have a good day.